Hello, everyone. Today we are going to do packet tracer of CCNA1 version 7.10.1.4. Packet tracer configure initial router settings. Objectives: Part 1, verify the default router configuration. Part 2, configure and verify the initial router configuration. Part 3, save the running configuration file. Background: in this activity, you will perform basic router configuration tasks. You will secure access to the CLI and console port using encrypted and plain text password. Here there are two types of password. One is encrypted password. One is plain text password. Plain text password is also the unencrypted password. You will also configure messages for users who are logging into the router. These banners warn unauthorized user that access is prohibited. Finally, you will verify and save your running configuration. Instructions Part 1, verify the default router configuration. Step 1, establish console connections to R1. Console connection is a physical connection. We use console cable. Here, let's go to the connection icon, this lightning bolt. Here is we select the console cable, this light blue curve line, click and go to PCA. We're going to select RS-232 port. RS-232, RS stands for the recommended standard. This is type of old type serial port. Computer use RS-232 for console port. So we select RS-232, then go to R1. We select the console ports. So now these two devices, PCA and R1, are physically connected through console cable. And we go to PCA, desktop, terminal. We keep this default setting, OK. So now they ask us to press return on keyboard. We press enter to get started. So I press enter. After I press enter, we go straight to the router, user executive mode. User executive mode end with a greater than sign. This. So now we enter this router. We can work on this router from PCA through this console cable. Okay. So next, step 2, enter privileged mode and examine the current configuration. You can access all the router commands from privileged executive mode. However, because many of the privileged commands configure operating parameters, privileged access should be password protected to prevent unauthorized use. Enter privileged executive mode. We use command enable. Yeah, so um, to enter privileged executive mode. Privileged executive mode end with the pound sign. So you see the prompt changed from the greater than sign to the pound sign. So now we're in the privileged executive mode. And the B show running config to verify the default configuration. So show running config. All right, so the configuration are displayed here, and we can answer the questions. The first, what is the router's host name? Here, host name is here, router. Okay, the host name is router. Yeah, router. And how many fast Ethernet interfaces does the router have? Fast Ethernet. Okay, here, fast Ethernet is here, 010, 011, 012, 013. So there are 4 fast Ethernet interface. So answer is 4. How many gigabit Ethernet interface does a router have? Gigabit. So gigabit Ethernet 0001. So there are two. Answer is two. How many serial interface does a router have? Serial. Here is 00000001. So two. Answer is two. Yes, very simple. We quickly find the answer. And what is the range of values shown for the VTY lines? VTY lines. Let's look for. Okay, the value, range of value is 0, 4, from 0 to 4. So the answer is 0, 4. Okay, so here 0, 4. So the first VTY line is line 0. The last VTY line is line 4th. So there are totally 5 VTY lines are supported by this router. Remember, VTY lines are virtual lines, so they don't correspond to any physical ports. VTY stand for virtual teletype. It refers to a virtual terminal line. The VTY lines are used for the management purpose by the administrator to remotely access to the network devices like switches and routers through Telnet and SSH. So, so here the 5 VTY lines, that means up to 5 people or 5 administrators can work on this router at the same time by using VTY lines through Telnet and SSH. Okay, next, display the current contents of NVRAM. Yeah, we're going to use command show startup config. Okay, show start up config. Okay, but here it says the startup config is not present. The question, why does the router respond with the startup config is not present message? Why? That's because we are these configurations, the default configuration, they are showing in the running configuration file here, running configuration file. We don't save running configuration file to the startup configuration file yet. Because running configuration file is a working file. It is temporarily stored in the RAM. RAM is RAM, random access memory. RAM, this memory, is a temporary location to store data. When the power is off or the system is rebooted, RAM will lose all the data on it. So that's why we need to save the data to a different location, which is called NVRAM. NV stands for non-volatile. Non-volatile RAM. This RAM can persistently store data on it. Even when the power is off or the system is rebooted, NVRAM still can keep the data on it. And the file we're going to save to the NVRAM will be called a startup configuration, startup config. But right now we don't save running configuration file to the startup configuration file yet. So that's why the router respond with the startup config is not present. Here is the answer. Yeah, because the default configuration is currently only located in the RAM, not saved to NVRAM yet. Part 2, configure and verify the initial router configuration. To configure parameters on a router, you may be required to move between various configuration modes. Notice how the prompt changes as you navigate through the iOS configuration modes. Step 1, configure initial settings on R1. Okay, there's a configure configure R1 as the host name. That means we need to change the host name to R1. In order to do the configuration, we need to enter the configuration mode. We use command configure terminal. Yeah, so we enter the configuration mode. It is also called a global configuration mode. And from here, we configure R1 as the host name. We use command host name followed by the host name we gave to this router, which is called capital R1. So you will see the host name changed from router to R1. Okay, good. And next is configure message of the day. Text unauthorized access is strictly prohibited. It's a banner. Okay, we configure banner. MOTD, don't forget MOTD is message of the day. And I use quotation mark to enclose the message, which is unauthorized. Access is strictly prohibited. Yep. All right. We finished the banner configuration. Next, encrypt all plain text passwords. Okay, I leave this configuration to be done later. I skip to the following configuration. Configure the password for the privileged executive mode access. Here we need to configure two type of passwords for the privileged access. One is unencrypted password, which is Cisco. One is encrypted password, which is called it's a secret. Okay, let's go. First, we configure the unencrypted password. We use command enable password followed by the password, which is called Cisco. Okay. The next we configure an encrypted password. We use command enable secret followed by the password. It's a secret. All right. Next is we need to configure a password for the console line. So we need to enter the line configuration mode. We use command line console 0, enter. Here 0 is the first console line. It is also the only console line because this router has only one console port. Then we configure password for the console line. We use command password followed by the password, which is called let me in. Let me in. All right. Don't forget log in. This is very important. Log in. When we configure the password for the lines, include the physical line, console line, and the virtual lines. But now we only configure the console line. When we configure password for lines, we have to use login to activate the password we configured. If we only configure password without login, this password doesn't work. All right. So, and when we enter the router, it will not prompt us to um, type the passwords. We just go straight to the user executive mode. Later on, you will see. So don't forget to log in. Login is to enable or to activate the passwords we configured for the console line. Okay, we finish configuration. We do the verification for our configurations. We go back to the executive mode. Show run to see our configuration. So what do? We did Yeah, we did hostname R1. Yeah, and the encrypted password here. It's a secret, but it shows here encrypted password is a secret, but it's shown in this file doesn't make sense. The letters, signs, numbers, doesn't make sense. This is the encrypted form of the password. Here, enable password. This is the unencrypted or plain text password, Cisco. The password is shown here as it is typed. So this is plain text password. And another one we did is console. Console line password is let me in. It is a plain text password as well. All right. So now we see the difference between the encrypted passwords and unencrypted passwords. Let's go back here. Encrypt or plain text password. We're going to use a different command. Let's go to configure terminal. And from here, we use command service. Password in encryption. Password encryption. Okay. Let's go to verify again. Show wrong. So you can see from here. Yeah. See, this is encrypted password. It's a secret. But now before, this is the plain text password. Now become the encrypted form password. So, and the console line password before, it was plain text or unencrypted. Now become the encrypted form of password. All right, so that's because we use the command service password encryption. Yeah. All right, so now I can give all the answer here, the command here. Yeah, this is a console line password. Yeah, console line password, don't forget to log in. That's very important. Without logging, this password doesn't work. So next to verify, yeah, we verified. What command do we use? We use show running config. That's okay. So exit current console session until you see the following message. We're in the privileged mode. Exit again. All right. So now it's R1 console 0 is now available. So now press return to get it started. Okay, before when we press return, we go straight to the privileged, no, go straight to the user executive mode. So now we press enter again to see what happened. Yeah, here, this banner show up here and the user access verification password. All right, so now we need to use the console line password. Console line password is let me in. Okay, yeah, we get into the user executive mode. Yeah, here is the password. Here is let me in. Answer some question here. Why should every router have a message? Yeah, this is message of the day banner. Why? That is regarding the legal process. The banner is an important part of the legal process in the event that someone is prosecuted for breaking into a device. So it is a good idea to provide a legal notification that warns users that the device should be accessed only by permitted users. Yeah, that is the answer. Okay, here. If you are not prompted for password before reaching the user executive prompt, what console line command did you forget? That is the login. Login here. If you forget a login, they will not prompt this password. Yeah, yeah. Login. Enter password necessary to return to the privileged executive mode. All right, so now we're in the user executive mode. We need to enter the privileged executive mode, enable. Okay, so here they ask us to put password here. Remember, we configured two type of password. One is unencrypted, one is encrypted. First, I use the unencrypted. Unencrypted password is Cisco. Okay, I put Cisco. Look at here, it doesn't work. Okay, now second I use encrypted, which is it's a secret. It's a secret. Okay, now works. So the unencrypted password doesn't work. Encrypted works. So here the question. Why would enable secret password allow access to the privileged executive mode and the enable password no longer being valid? Here, okay, here if we only configure unencrypted password, it will work. Or if we only configure encrypted password, it will work as well. But if we configure both unencrypted and encrypted passwords at the same time, the encrypted password will override the unencrypted password. So that's why here the enable secret password will allow access to the privileged executive mode, but the encrypted password no longer be valid. That's the reason. The encrypted password will override the unencrypted password. If both passwords are configured at the same time. Okay, here. Okay, so when both plaintext and encrypted passwords are configured, the enable secret will override the enable password. Okay, we need to use enable secret in encrypted password to enter the privileged executive mode. Yeah. If you configure any more passwords on the router, are they displayed in the configuration file as plaintext or in encrypted form? The answer is encrypted form. That's because we used this command, service password encryption, to encrypt all plaintext password. So in the future, all the password will be shown in the encrypted form. Yeah, here's the answer. Part 3, save the running configuration file. Step 1, save the configuration file to nvran. You have configured the initial setting for R1. Now back up the running configuration file to nvran to ensure that the changes made are not lost if the system is rebooted or loses power. Yes, we use command. What command we use? We use copy. Copy is safe. Running config to start up config. All right, so destination file name is startup config. Yes. All right, so here's the command. Yeah, actually you know that. All right, so what is the shortest unambiguous version of this command? We can use question mark. Copy running config to start up config. First, we use C question mark. So C is not enough because there are 5 commands that start with C. So CO question mark. CO is not enough too because there are 3 commands start with CO. COP. How about P? COP question mark. Yeah, COP works. Only 1 space. Running, I use start with R question mark. R works because only 1 command starting with R running config. Space start up, I start with S question mark. No, S is not enough because 2 commands with start with S. So how about ST question mark? Question mark. Yeah, ST works. Okay, so enter file name, start up. Yes, correct. So this is the shortest version of this command. Start copy running config to start by config. So here is the shortest version. Yeah. Step 2, option save the startup configuration file to Flash. Flash is a different location. Flash is similar to NVRAM because Flash also can persistently store data on it. But NVRAM and Flash are 2 different location, different area in the router. So although you will be learning more about managing the flash storage in the router in later chapter, you may be interested to know that as an added backup procedure, you can save your startup configuration file to flash. By default, the router still loads the startup configuration from NVRAM, but if NVRAM becomes corrupt, you can restore the startup configuration by copying it over from Flash. Complete the following steps to save the startup configuration to Flash. Examine the contents of Flash using show Flash. Yeah, first let's see what files are stored in the Flash. Use command show Flash. All right, so question here. How many files are currently stored in Flash? So here 3, 1 to 3. Here the order, the file they put here is based on the size of the file. The biggest or largest file they put in the beginning, the first one. The smallest file put it at the end. Okay, so 3, answer is 3. Which of these files would you guess is iOS image? I guess it's the first one, scene1900, this one, .bin, this one is the iOS image. That's what I guess. And why do you think this file is the iOS image? Here, because I based on this extension, .bin, the bin here, bin is binary file. iOS image is a binary file, so that's why the first file is the iOS image. Yeah, and also the binary file is big. The extension bin is iOS image. So now let's go to save the startup configuration file to the Flash. So we use copy. Copy is save. Startup config to Flash. Okay, enter. Yeah, file name is the same. The startup config, we keep the same. All right. So then we verify show Flash again to see if our saving is successful. So yes, the 4th one, smallest one as well. They put at the end. Startup config is here. Yeah, so our saving is successful. All right, so show flash, yes. So now we've finished our packet tracer. Configure initial router setting. Thank you for watching my video. If you like my video, please thumbs up, subscribe my channel, share with your friends, leave comments. See you next time.